Coach, can you give us some background about Cage?
Yes, a little background about Cage. Well, by coincidence, 1987 represents our 25th year of service to the Westchester community, county of Westchester. The Cage Teen Center began in 1962, operating from the basement of an abandoned bowling alley on William Street, which is now across from the Galleria. And since those days, we have been 6 feet ahead of the bulldozer. We've changed location about 6 times. We're presently located on Ferris Avenue, 220 Ferris Avenue. Back in 1962, the way the Cage came about, there was a private businessman who was operating, I guess, a supply house for things like popcorn and Cracker Jacks and potato chips and selling soda. And he had that place as a storage house, and he decided to open it up to the kids up on the street who wanted a place to hang out. The thing he didn't count on is that having young people congregate in the bowling alley, 50 or 60 kids required a little supervision. You know, red-blooded American boys and girls tend to get into a little difficulty now and then. And so he turned the key on the door and locked them out, so this is too much trouble. Lawrence Long, who was a minister from the Church in the Highlands in those days, got wind of the fact that these kids were now shut out on the street with no place to go, no place to hang out, and he interested a few of his friends from the city of White Plains to enter a lease with the landlord and open up the doors again to this basement facility and let the kids come in out of the cold and give them a place to be with their friends. Shortly after that, the place became known as the Cage Teen Center. And in the beginning days, all they had there was a ping pong table, which represented a flat piece of wood on some milk cases, and a jukebox, and a pool table.
Now, how did you get involved with Cage?
Well, I was one of the many starving school teachers in those days who needed a second job. And a friend of mine said that he'd been down to an interview at this basement facility, but that it was not his cup of tea. He thought the kids were too wild and uncontrollable. He said, if you want a second job, let's just why don't you go down there and look it up, check it out.
When you say job training, do you offer any type of job training programs?
Yes, we do. We have really something we're very proud of. We have an excellent automotive training program. Now, the automotive training program does not make Class A mechanics out of the young people, boys and girls. What it does, it prepares young people to become employable. That means that they learn that they have to be at work every day, have to be there on time. They have certain attitudes they must adopt to be successful in the job place, and they learn the basic tools of the industry, the tools and the processes of the industry, the automotive industry. And I think that we have placed almost 100% of our graduates over the last 5 years. Larry Rudd, who was a former member of the Cage, Larry Rudd, the instructor, interestingly enough, who was a 14-year-old young man when the Cage began in 1962. He was one of the kids that were down there playing ping pong and pool. Later went into the service, came out and went to General Motor School. He came back and eventually worked for Cage and is doing an excellent job. Our experience at the Cage overall has been a positive one. We have been in touch with thousands of kids, as you know. And I guess we've been encouraged by some of the results that we've gotten in our programs. We had a rather unique setup. Our program operates out of on an informal basis. Young people coming to the Cage feel a sense of acceptance. They feel loved. They feel that people that are at the Cage working with them care about them. Now, this is a kind of a sense that they get. It's a feeling they get. We're talking about feelings. Lots of agencies that operate on a more formal basis, to some degree, frighten these kids away who are not well connected in their own lives. See, they don't have families, in some sense, that are intact, that can run interference for them. It's like putting little Joe Morris out there without some of the interference and the blocking that he gets from Carthon in the backfield. He wouldn't go very far. He needs someone out there to throw a block for him, to let him get in. Well, young people are the same. If my children need a contact, I have friends and associates in business and in agencies that I can call and say, well, my boy's coming out of school. I'd like very much if you could have an opportunity to be interviewed at such a place. Well, these other young people we're talking about very often are not connected. So the Cage sees its role in part as helping to connect these people to the realities of life. These are the opportunities. The disadvantages are really not having that same start. it is not an equal start. And anyone who tells you that all young people come out and have an equal chance, it's just not true.
We said before we went to the public service announcement that Cage is getting ready to celebrate its 25th anniversary. Can you tell me something about that?
I just wanted to review the programs of the Cage before we get into the 25th quickly, and that was, we do have a contract with Detention Services, Department of Social Services, Westchester County, to provide an educational experience for the young kids at Whitfield, the young boys at Whitfield. So we have 3 teachers there. We have a drug and alcohol prevention and education program under the directorship of Ann Kaiser at the Cage. We have the automotive training program. We have an intensive services project. That's for chronic runners, kids who run away continually. What we're doing is providing family therapy for those young kids and their families. We still have that great boxing program, and Child Caserta intends to win the team championship at the New York Golden Gloves this year. We have the automotive training program. And so you see, we're still doing quite a few things. And now we're looking forward to a new maintenance program and also a drop-in center, which is the way we started. A place for kids to come in off the street and say hi. Come in and play a little ping pong, a little pool, and get to know the staff. And that way we can identify what might be troubling this young kid. And since our mandate is troubled youth, trouble comes in a variety of ways. This year, 25th anniversary, we're going to celebrate in a very simple way by sending out the notices and announcements, hopefully TV channels, if we can get some time, a radio, newspaper, calling back all the people who have ever been involved with Cage, the young people. Now they're not as young, some of them are in their 40s already. And we're going to have just like a get-together, a buffet dinner, and a chance to say hello to old friends and to old staff members and board members and people who have supported the Cage in 25 years. It was not an easy program to get off the ground because initially it was a rather controversial thing that we were doing because the kind of young people we were working with, a lot of questions to whether we should be working with them at all. And my attitude and the attitude of the board is that we have seen so many good things happen for these young people. Some of them have become so successful. We often sit and wonder what would have happened to these young people if no one intervened in their lives. So to answer the question you asked me earlier enough, why does the Cage continue to work with these young people? We have seen so many positive things happen, and we have seen so many young people turn that corner and blossom into successful adults that gives us the incentive and I guess the positive motivation to continue. I don't know as if I really want to do anything else. I've been there 25 years myself. And when I went there as a part-time job to fill in for some income that I was missing as a school teacher. And I found a whole real world of effective ways to work with young people, creative ways. And we're not finished yet. We have a lot more ideas and things that we feel we can do to help. Success, I think the interpersonal relationships. The fact that the staff was an outstanding collection of people who cared about the kids. There's no way you could take the brightest professors, the most well-qualified, credentialed people in the country, put them together, and they may not have made the impact that these people collectively made on this particular group of kids during this period of their time. It was a humanistic approach. It was a truly concerned approach. The people on that staff sincerely cared for all the kids. And I can say that. I was there. I watched it in amazement. And being that I was a product of the traditional system for so many years before I went to Educage, it's not that I had no frame of reference from which to compare it. I was a school teacher. I was a guidance counselor. And some of these people had never been to a teacher training institution. But they had the human qualities that were necessary to have a kid feel comfortable and receptive to what they had to offer. And until you make that roadway from one human being to another, nothing that one person has to transmit can be transmitted without the roadway. And the roadway was built on love.
Well, of course, we're running out of time, and I'd like to thank you for being my guest this evening on Community Youth Forum. But one thing I wanted to say is that going back, and even though Educage is no longer in existence, is that it wasn't for Educage, I don't know where I would be today. I met Coach in 1970 when New Rochelle school system totally gave up on me. And he coached Dorothy Kentner, Sister Helen, all of them, lots of those people. They put some time in me. They made me believe in myself, made me feel that I could do something. They spent, I said, on telephone calls to get me in college. And I didn't go to school in New York. They talking about Ohio, Alabama, and Tennessee. They spent, I said, over $100 on telephone calls just to get me in school. And I have to thank Coach, Dr. Kinder, all the people from education, because it changed my life. The 2 years of education made me want to be something. So I have to thank you personally, and I will be at your 25th anniversary.
I look forward to having you there with all your other old friends. Lots of guys had the same experience.
And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being my guest. And again, Coach, thank you.